Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Let's say I'm running conjugate. For my home gym already, I have one power bar, one beater bar, two sets of bands and chains, next is a specialty bar. What specialty bar would you suggest from most needed to least? Okay, good question. I would say, what are the least needed specialty bars? Probably a trap bar, right? A cambered bench bar. Now, I'm not saying the cambered bench bar doesn't have uses. It's just going to be less useful and harder to acquire. Highest priorities for bars. It's going to depend on your weak links. And the reason I say that is that some bars are geared towards more weak links and others, some are geared toward helping your shoulders more than others. So unless we know what your weakest links are, we don't know what the best bar for you to buy is. And because you're not going to have many bars, you're going to need bars that serve multiple purposes. So unless you have a major shoulder problem, I'm not going to recommend a football bar up front. Right? If you have a lot of shoulder inflammation, maybe a football bar, but it's going to have less limited uses than some of the other bars. Now, I've got a lot of clients who have football bars and we use them, but it wouldn't be a high priority because it's only useful for upper body lifts. There's not much else we can do with it, and other specialty bars all help with shoulder issues anyways. So you would really want to have multiple bars in that case. So maybe not a priority. I'm going to lean in the direction of, depending upon where your weak links are, either a bow bar, like a buffalo bar, a safety squat bar, or the cambered squat bar. So which ones do we get? If you just need versatility for your squatting, right? Versatility for your squatting and your benching, buffalo bar is king, particularly if you get a little bit of shoulder inflammation from doing a lot of squatting, like your speed squats and good mornings and stuff. It'll give you another bar you can use. It's a little easier on the shoulders. It'll give you another bar to max on. It'll give you another bar to rotate through for speed work, for both benching, right? Because again, it's a totally different bar for benching, for both benching and for your squats. So that would possibly be, if you don't have specific specialized needs, like major weak links you need to correct, the buffalo bar right up front. You get the most mileage out of it. Okay. If you have a lot of upper back weakness, safety squat bar. Again, only going to really help with lower body lifts, but those are upper body lifts too, aren't they? Back. Safety squat bar for both your squatting and your good mornings. And it's going to give you another bar you can rotate in for max squats. All right. What else? What's our other one? The cambered bar. If you have a posterior chain weakness, the cambered bar is phenomenal for both good mornings and for squats. You can also incidentally close grip bench with it for another variation. So really, depending upon where your weaknesses are, that's what I would recommend. Now, if you have a lot of shoulder inflammation, all those bars in the football bar could be a very, very viable choice, right? If you have a history of shoulder problems, it'll basically make those go away because they're all very, very easy on your shoulders. They take a lot of stress off of it. And in fact, using the safety bar and the cambered bar for all of your squatting and good mornings, if you're going through a heavy bench specialization phase, can be useful. So really, it's going to depend on where you're at. So hopefully that helps you out. All right, next question. Hello, Coach Jason. Just need an insight. Will doing heavy pendlay rows and lunges alone improve your 1 rep max on the conventional deadlift? Thanks. No. Why would you think that's going to build your deadlift? Now, do pendlay rows help? Yes. Heavy is relative. When you think you're going heavy on a pendlay row, you probably have about 100 pounds too much on the bar. Okay, probably have 100 pounds too much on the bar. I get a lot of guys who they go way too heavy on pendlays and then they don't have back development, and then their back starts growing and they get all this back DOMS, and we cut the weight way back and we work on explosiveness. Now, if your lats and your isometric strength at the start of the pull on a deadlift in your posterior chain are a weak link, the pendlay rows will help. They'll help a lot. Okay? But you still have to build all the primary movers. You're not building any of the primary movers with that. You're building massive amounts of support musculature. You're building grip, you're building your whole back up, but you're building your back in a way that's a support, right? It helps keep your lats pulled back, which matters, okay? Because the isometric strength we get, it helps build a little bit of isometrics to help us get a little tighter on a pull. We're building lat strength to keep us down and back. We're building grip strength. This will all help you at the start of the deadlift, okay? But it's not going to build the primary movers. You should have said something like a good morning or a box squat. Then we'd be talking. The lunges, I don't think lunges are going to do anything for your deadlift. Maybe if you have really, really, really weak glutes, the lunges, the extra workload and the glutes will help. But there's a lot of movements that build the posterior chain dramatically more effectively than lunges, and the glutes more effectively. So that's all you're getting. Like, that is the only benefit you're going to get from the lunge. Now you'll say, well, what about quads? If you squat at all, your quads are going to be never a weak link on your deadlift. And I'm not saying it's not biologically possible for quads to become a weak link on a deadlift. It's absurdly rare in anyone who does any type of squatting. Because, I'll put it in perspective, a 400-pound squat requires way more quad activation than a 500-pound deadlift does. Okay, so let's get that clear. In other words, if your quads can handle a 400-pound squat, right, they will absolutely have no chance of being a limiting factor on a 500-pound deadlift. They probably won't be the limiting factor on a 600-pound deadlift. So the quad work from the lunges isn't necessarily going to help you. And I'm not saying quads don't contribute. I want to get that clear. I'm not saying quads don't contribute, but if you're squatting already, it is just absurdly unlikely that your quads are a weak link on your deadlift, particularly on a conventional deadlift, which is what you're talking about. So really, you should have been asking something like good mornings in rows combined with speed pulls, because I'm never suggesting that you don't do any pulling at all with these things. Okay, but the pendlay rows will help if they address your weaker links, or if those muscles are all weak, then obviously the pendlay rows will help massively. If they're not a weak link, you may not see much improvement. The lunges, you would have to be absurdly weak and not squatting for the lunges to have any real carryover to your deadlift. And it's mainly they just don't work enough of the big muscles involved. All right, next question. When putting a novice on conjugate, can you have them max out on the same lift 2 weeks in a row or stick to the usual 6 weeks before coming back to the same lift? I'm coaching them in person, rep by rep, etc. I don't prefer either one of those. Okay. Because the 6 weeks is more for intermediates. And by the way, if you're an advanced lifter, maxing every 6 weeks on the same lift, you're going to stall a lot. You need to be like 12 weeks. So 6 weeks is kind of for an intermediate. Here's what I'm going to say. Novice lifters. Here's what I generally like to do. If I put a novice on conjugate, I give them 4 presses and we rotate through them every 4 weeks. Okay? That's what I do. I don't have them do the same one 2 weeks in a row. Now, it can be argued that they can progress 2 weeks in a row on it because they're a novice. I'd rather not. I want to get them into the habit of rotating every week because they're going to have to go to it pretty soon anyways. So it might be week 1 a bench press, week 2 a floor press, week 3 a closed grip bench. Week 4 could be, an incline, an overhead press, a dead pin bench, right? Something like that. But those other 3 are going to be mainstays for them. Wider grip bench, floor press, closed grip bench, okay? And then a 4th press. Every 4 weeks we'll repeat. Lower body, could have them do a normal box squat. Could have them do a dead pin squat, or we could change the box to a different height for every other week, right? Because you're going to squat, then deadlift, squat, then deadlift. Deadlifts are easy. Okay? They're a novice lifter, sumo pull, and conventional pull. Done. Every 2 weeks they deadlift, and so every 4 weeks they'll repeat the same deadlift. That's super easy. We could do some of them from blocks. We could have them block pull. We could have them deficit deadlift, but a lot of novice lifters, you got to be careful with the deficit deadlift. You got to make sure they built up the low back for it. But they could block pull instead. If you don't want to have them do a normal conventional deadlift off the floor due to the psychological demoralizing impact of missing a lift, even if they PR'd first and they go for another lift and they miss it, it's demoralizing. It beats you up. So you could have them pull off some EVA foam pads or 1-inch blocks, and that would be doable too in place of the conventional. But that's what I recommend, right? Every 4 weeks we rotate the lift, but every other week you want to change it every week, basically, right? You want to change it every week, and then about every 4 weeks have them max again, and they'll make good progress for a while. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.